Hello everyone and welcome to the first weather video and I'd say in a couple of years actually. It's probably been about 2 years almost. I didn't do a single weather video last year, last winter, and I think the last one before that was the year before. So yeah, welcome to the first weather video in a long time. I thought, you know what, we'll give this a little trial, see how it gets received, and if people enjoy it, then we'll do it. I'm going to try and do one of these a week during the winter, if I possibly can. If I can't, I can't, but I'm going to try and do these at least once a week. May do a bit more if it gets interesting, but yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, so this is going to become, I'm going to make a very big announcement right now already, and not even a minute into the video, I'm going to make a major announcement that you're going to absolutely love. This weather models will now become part of the live streams. So in between 5-10 minutes in between each stream, in the middle of it, we're gonna check out the weather models, the latest weather models that we can, and we'll check them out. And yeah, that's gonna be the plan. And I can tell you that the first live stream back will be happening on Wednesday. So Wednesday the 19th of November at 6 p.m. will be the next live stream. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter live stream because it is the first live stream back. The first live stream back's always a little bit smaller just to get back into the flow of things like I did last time. But it's going to be a 2.5 hour live stream. We'll do about a Euro Truck, I think. In the middle of that stream we'll be doing what you call it. I've not done this in a while, so I'm naturally bad at this. Yeah, we'll be looking at the weather models and just little bits of updates here and there, weather-wise. So yeah, that's going to be a big part of the live streams coming up, or a new feature of the live streams coming up. Yeah, on top of the weather videos that are potentially going to become a weekly thing during the winter at least. But yeah, if you're not a fan of the technical stuff, you're not a fan of the weather models, learning about the actual... what's the word when you describe weather models? What's the word? Synoptics. That says synoptics. It's something like that. Synoptics. Then please skip to the last few minutes of the video where I give you a rundown of what I expect based on what I've seen today, of what I think is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks in terms of the weather. But yeah, skip to that if you're not too interested in it. But if you're interested in learning about the weather and learning about the models and learning how they work and how to read them, then stick around for the whole video basically. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of technical stuff today. I'm going to try and explain it the best I can. If I'm a bit rubbish at it, then I apologise. If I do say anything wrong, and I do get things wrong, when we get to the sudden stratospheric warming part, I do think I'm going to be a little bit rusty, and I may say something wrong that I shouldn't have said. So yeah, I apologise for that if I do say that. Okay, we're just going to start here. I'm going to turn off the webcam because it's a bit rubbish when you're looking at me. I'll be back at the end of the webcam. My face will be back at the end of the video when I explain what I think is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so this is the current radar image from 5 minutes ago or so. And as you can see where I am, it has been raining all day. I'm not joking. It rained last night when I went to bed. It was raining this morning when I got up. It was raining when I went to uni earlier, and it's still raining now. It's been raining for basically 24 hours, so yeah, that's great. But it should be fizzling out later on tonight, thank God. And yeah, we've got rain coming up from the south, which is going to cause big issues tomorrow. We've got a amber warning down at the south. If you want to learn more about that, if you want to know more about the warnings, please visit the Met Office website. They have all the warnings for that. But yeah, kind of the central and northern areas are kind of dry and clear, but there's rain gathering in the south. And of course, in the central belt, it's been raining most of the day. So yeah, that's great. Current temperature in Fife. So this is the weather station probably closest to me. We're sitting at 4.9 degrees, so quite chilly in the north tonight. And it's expected to be quite cold tonight, dropping down to about 3 degrees in the east. In the south, it should stay up mostly above 10 degrees. And yeah, so parts of Scotland could get down to -5, -6 tonight. So first proper frost tonight for them. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the weather, so the temperatures for the next few days. So starting off with tomorrow morning, of course, as I've already explained, it could get down to about -4, -5, but it looks like widely low single digits. Of course, in the south it stays, as I said, above 10 degrees mostly, as that rains there as well. Tomorrow afternoon, very cold day for Scotland and Northern England. It's looking like quite a miserable day for them, considering it's going to be raining all day, so mid-single digits, that's going to feel pretty bad. And up in the north, some places barely getting above freezing, but generally around the mid-single digits is what we're saying. Saturday, it looks like the temperatures lift up a little bit overall, but still quite chilly, probably a tad below average, not much, but a tad below average. And then Sunday is when it starts to get that bit cooler in all areas. We're probably looking at like mid-single digits, maybe upper single digits if we're lucky. And then Monday is another little drop of a day. Some places in the north barely getting above 5 degrees. And yeah, we're lucky if you see 10 degrees in the south. And on Tuesday, this is Monday night, so midnight on Tuesday is as far as we can go with the UKV at the moment. We're looking at widely below freezing in the north and central, and of course down in the south we're looking at around low single digits, so quite a cold night on Monday night, probably our coldest night of the season overall, widespread so far, I'd say. And we don't get to 6 a.m. with that, so it'll probably be even colder than that on Tuesday morning. Okay, we're going to have a little look at some technical stuff now. So we're going to be looking at something that I think is going to have a big impact to the weather over the next, let's say, 2 weeks, I'd say it, but it's going to be happening in about 2 weeks, I think, and it's going to have a big impact on the weather beyond that. So, this is a sudden stratospheric warming. I'm just going to check if that's updated. No, it hasn't. We'll check at the end of the video if it has. It should be updated at the end of the video, but we'll see. This would be good for comparison anyway. So, what you're looking for a sudden stratospheric warm, or a reversal of the zonal winds, sorry, is for the zonal winds to go below this zero line. So if you end up seeing any of these blue members go below the zero line, they are predicting a sudden or a reversal of the zonal winds, or a significant sudden stratospheric warming, as I would call it, if it went below zero. But basically, what we're looking at here is a very big weakening in the zonal winds. It's looking very weak coming up. It's looking like between 0 and 5, I'd say. It could change. It's still a couple of weeks away, so there's a lot to change before then. But I'll explain in a minute in more detail. I've got a little graphic to show you what this could mean overall. I'll explain this in a bit more detail. But basically, you're weakening the zonal winds. You're weakening the westerlies when you go this low. This is the average, by the way. So this line here, let me just get a different colour. I hope I'm explaining this as best I can. I'm probably not. This line here is the average. So this is where we expect to be at this time of year. You can see here we're like really, really, really below average, like significantly below average. And I can tell you this is very rare for November to have an SSW like this. I think the last time it happened was, I think it was like 50 years ago. Somebody was saying. So it's a very, very unusual thing to happen. Usually we see them in December, and usually we see them in January and February, but looks like this year we'll get one in November. Even if it isn't a significant sudden stratospheric warming, it does look like we're going to have at least a big weakening in the zonal winds coming up. So it's going to be very interesting to play out. And I'll explain in a minute. Sorry, I'm talking very fast. I apologise. I'll explain in a minute why that could have an effect on our weather coming into December. So yeah, that's going to be something quite interesting. Now, I'm going to show you some forecasts based on that, based on what we've just seen. So you can see here, this week it looks like we're getting the warming going. Next week we'll look to extend that a bit further. Then the week after just continues. It just looks generally quite high, quite warm in the stratosphere, maybe weakening a bit into December, but again, that's going to be extended range, so it's going to be uncertain. So yeah, we're certainly looking like we're going to be having a big weakening the zonal winds coming up towards the end of this month, I think. However, even though the ECM was showing that, I do want to throw in a caveat. None, as of yesterday, it could have changed today, but we don't have the update yet. But as of, 6 a.m. this morning, I apologise. As of 6 a.m. this morning, no GFS members had gone below the zero line, so that's something I do want to keep you updated about. It is still 2 weeks away. It could change. It is such a long time away in the stratus and this sort of pattern. So do keep that in mind. But We could see more of these going below here. If we do like that, then we could be looking at a significant sudden stratospheric warming. But as it is, the GFS is predicting like a major like weakening of zonal winds, probably going down to about going down to about 5 ms, I'd say, and that. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. There's a potential that this could not be a significant sudden stratospheric warming. But I put on like a 20 to 30% chance of that happening right now. But we're definitely going to be getting a major weakening. That's what I would say. Let me know if I've explained anything wrong. I'm going to show you this graphic here. This is basically a graphic explaining what happens if you do get a disrupted polar vortex. If you do get a sudden stratospheric warming, this is what happens. So this is your normal like day-to-day, like your normal vortex every winter. Your westerly, if the polar vortex is intact, this is exactly what it does. It's kind of like a spinning top in a way. If you spin it, it just keeps going and going and going. However, if that gets disrupted, this is what could happen. So what could happen is you could get cold air moving south from the vortex, and then you could get warm air, as what we call warm air eviction, going up towards Greenland, and then this could set like a high pressure up here. It's not the best colour for it. Why is this important to us? You could get warm air going up here, and it could set up high pressure here, which could then in turn bring down northerly winds. So you're basically dislodging, when a sudden stratospheric warming happens, you're basically dislodging the cold air out of the Arctic. It's like a spinning top. You're kind of just like disrupting that from happening. And yeah, it brings down like it could promote colder weather. And like anywhere almost, like US a lot of the time will get it, but sometimes it could be that the blocking ends up on the Canadian side, so it doesn't exactly end up here where it would say here. This one's probably showing cold weather for the UK, but it could end up that the high pressure is a bit further over here, and it brings cold air down like there, and then it's like, so it's not in the right position to bring the UK cold weather. That could happen, and that's one of the risks of a sudden stratospheric warming, like it did in 2012, where it could be that we're on the wrong side of the block. That's what I'm trying to say. We're on the wrong side of the block. We're not getting really cold air. But yeah. Yeah, I hope I explained that very well. I don't think I did, but I hope I explained that quite well. Basically, a thing to take away from it is that when a sudden stratospheric warming happens, a weakening of the zonal winds, it means that the polar vortex gets disrupted and the cold air moves south like this, and then it promotes high pressure going up to Greenland like that. So it's basically like a change to the usual pattern of the polar vortex. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why sometimes, like beasts from the east, we can get cold weather in 2018. And sometimes, like, I think it was December 2010. Oh no, sorry, March 2013. You can get like such a big weakening in the zonal westerlies that can promote a massive impact. Because March 2013 was a cold month, of course. Okay, so that's why we're looking at stuff like this to see if it goes very weak, which of course it is. Which means what you're seeing on this graphic is probably going to happen, but it really depends on what exactly, like where the block sits. That's the important thing. Where the cold air wants to move to. That's the big question. But it certainly increases the chance of a cold December. I definitely give you that. Okay. I'm going to take a breather because I've been speaking for ages. I've probably been speaking too long. I'm going to pause the video for a minute and I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue because I've been speaking too fast. Okay, I'm going to try and slow down a little bit because I've realised I've probably been speaking a bit too quick. I've just been trying to get my point across as quickly and as efficiently as I could, but I probably failed at it. I hope I explained the sudden stratospheric warming situation enough to make you understand a little bit more about what could happen. But basically, a sudden stratospheric warming increases your chance of cold weather in the UK. That's basically the short part of it. Okay, we're going to go through the models now. We're going to start off with the UK Met Euro run. So this is showing easterly winds coming in on Friday. Let me just click that so we can go through. And then we can see here this high pressure. This high pressure is going up towards Greenland like that. So what in turn that brings down a northerly wind. So that looks quite cold going into the early part of next week. So you can see here in the upper air temperatures, the -5 isotherm is coming right down. So that's going to be quite chilly, certainly, as you saw on the UKV charts that I showed you earlier for the temperatures. And this little feature here, you can notice this little feature here. That's got a bit of precipitation on it, I think, and that's certainly potential to bring a bit of snow. I can't see if that's actually got snow on it because, it doesn't show me. So yeah, but yeah, I think that does have the potential to have a bit of snow. There's a lot of question marks about that low pressure, where it's going to go, how it's going to interact with the cold air. Will it head directly down here, so it just brings a mild sector, or is it going to like lodge into the cold air and it'll just produce snow? There's a big question mark on that. Okay, next model, Icon. Okay, so as you see before, the high pressure goes up to Greenland, nice block over Greenland. But here, you can see here that this, you can see how this low pressure comes right over the UK. That could be a bit of a problem for the south, because you can see here it's bringing like a bit of a mild sector down. So the north is quite good at that. So sleet, snow for the north, rain, probably cold rain for the south. But yeah, there's a lot to firm up on that. And it does look like on Friday the 21st we're going to introduce mild air. It does look like it's struggling a little bit though. You can see here there's little kinks going on in the isobars. That kind of tells us that it is struggling a little bit. Not much, but it's struggling a little bit. But I reckon what will happen by Saturday, Sunday is this high pressure will topple in over the UK and bring us like a mild and drier end to the weekend and start of the following week. That's what I think would happen beyond that. Maybe wrong, but I think that's what will happen. Okay, on to the GM now. So that's promoting high pressure. I've not seen a lot of extension to the cold, I must say. This is a lot of a quick return to westerlies. So yeah, that was like a nice block getting going over Greenland, I must say. 1,050 millibars right there. That's quite a good block, I must say. Well, it's... Oops, sorry. And that continues right the way through to Friday, where low pressure's about to attack from the Atlantic, and it certainly does, but it does look like, notice, it does look like that low pressure there was going on a northwest-southeast alignment, definitely. So it certainly looks like it's on the colder side of the jet stream there. And notice here as well, we've got high pressure starting to get going again on the north of the Atlantic, which could go up to Greenland. So we're certainly looking like we're getting signs there from the GM of a bit of a return to the cold weather that never really went away, really, did it? Apart from this like little interruption with this low pressure, it was like slightly less cold. But yeah, this is definitely a bit of a twist with the GM. That we're not really seeing with other models, so I wouldn't really take it that literally at the moment. We'll see if any other models go with that though. Okay, moving on to the GFS 12Z. Let's see if that was doing anything like the GM or if it was more like Icon and UK Met. Let's go. Okay, so like usual, we've got the high pressure going up to the Arctic. A bit of a stronger block, actually, I think, with the GFS. That brings down northerly winds. By Friday, it looks like the Atlantic is going to come in. This is a more of a drier Atlantic pattern, though, compared to the GM and Icon. And then that's just bringing up southwesterly winds all the way through. Does look like we're trying to raise the heights a little bit up here. Nothing really cold coming yet, but in a few days' time, that could definitely send low pressure down towards Spain. If it does, that could bring us back into northerly winds again. However, that's definitely a long way off, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay, let's have a look at the ensembles then. So let's see what the ensembles are doing based on that GFS 12Z. So we can see here for Birmingham, we're looking at Birmingham on this one. We can see here, we start off above average, we drop. So probably about from the 17th to the 23rd, so almost a week of cold weather, below average weather. And it looks like we're definitely getting assigned to a return to the westerlies by the end of November. So I think that last week in November is looking likely to have a return to at least some sort of Atlantic dominance. I'm not sure if it's going to be a dry westerly or unsettled westerly, but it's like 10 days away, so it's not really a big issue. We've got a lot to get through before then. Yeah, so if we go a little bit further north, so that's Birmingham, about 6 days of cold weather. Let's go somewhere like Aberdeen. You can see there, Aberdeen's already pretty much in the cold air. below -5, and it pretty much stays that way until around the 23rd. So that's like 10 days of below average temperatures there. Where we revert back to average, but there's a lot of scatter there, so it'll probably go a bit colder or a bit milder than average, to be honest. It won't go right average, but yeah. That's pretty much what we're looking. So the further north you go, the better you are in terms of a chance of seeing, like, the longevity of the cold, as it were, and the better chance of snow as well. Alright, let's have a look at the ECM 12Z. It's been updating whilst I've been speaking, so let's have a look and see if it follows in the footsteps of the GM, or if it's more like the other models where it goes mild next weekend. Okay, so starting off as much as we had before, as we already know, it's going to promote this little feature here. Could be quite interesting. This little feature here, could that interact with the cold air and bring a bit of snow? It does look like there's cold air on the back end of it, but it definitely looks like it has a mild sector with it. But after that passes, we're back into northerly winds for a couple of days, and then it does look like we're definitely introducing an Atlantic flow. Yeah, definitely looks more strongly Atlantic flow by next weekend. So I think the ECM shows an Atlantic return. Let's have a little look and see if these will update before I show you them. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so the weekly anomalies from the ECM then. We've got high pressure over Greenland, low pressure here, bringing down a northerly wind. We know that, we've already seen most of that. Week 2, looks like we revert back to an Atlantic flow. The high pressure over the Arctic goes back towards the Canadian side, so it promotes more of the Atlantic to come through. Week 3, okay, it doesn't look cold. We've got high pressure again over the Canadian side. We've got low pressure in the Atlantic, which wouldn't be too bad if we didn't have this high pressure down here, which is just bringing up a southwesterly wind, so that just looks mild, to be honest. Okay, week 4, is the 8th to the 15th. That looks a lot better. You got that block over the Arctic, much more towards the Greenland side than the Canadian side this time. Low pressure kind of stalling at the Atlantic. It's trying to bring southwesterly winds, but I think this high pressure is definitely going to be battle. So a bit of a battleground going on there between the low pressure and the high pressure trying to bring cold air. So that could go either way, to be honest. It could be a bit of a, like, 4 days of, like, low pressure and then 3 days of cold weather. What have I done? What have I done? There we go. Okay, and finally this week, that definitely looks a lot better in terms of cold. There you got Pisa Scandinavian / Greenland block at that point, to be honest. But yeah, that certainly looks quite interesting. Come on! What are you doing? Okay, whatever. Okay. I'm going to turn back on the webcam, turn off the display capture, and I'm going to summarise what I think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So, what I think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks is it's going to be very wet tomorrow for the south. I think the north will stay mostly dry right the way through until next weekend, to be honest. Apart from a few showers here and there, whether that's wintry or rain, remains to be seen. But I think the north has got a better chance, obviously, of seeing snow. The south, I can only really see a good chance of the south getting snow if it comes down to a low pressure and it's with a much colder sector rather than a mild sector coming down. So that's the only reason. Otherwise, it'll be cold rain. Yeah, temperatures gradually lowering over the weekend as well. Next week, right through Monday to Friday. I think by Friday evening, Saturday. Not like, I don't know the exact time frame, but I think Friday, Saturday next week. I think we'll probably see a return to the westerlies after a week of cold weather for the north and like 5 days of cold weather for the south. So yeah, I think we'll definitely see a return to that. Not sure yet if it's going to be a dry and unsettled westerly at that point. That remains to be seen. I think there's probably about a 10% chance of the cold weather hanging on for a little bit longer than that, but I think that's unlikely. And into early December, I think that it probably will be mild to begin with, or at least average to begin with. Not sure if it's going to be unsettled or dry yet. I'd probably put my bets towards unsettled, but I'm not too sure. Probably an unsettled like couple of weeks after this colder spell coming up next week. And then I think the SSW will start to take effect if it's regardless if it's just displacement or if it's an actual split where it reverses the zonal winds, regardless of either, I think it will have an effect into December. And I think there's probably about a 70 to 80% chance that will have an effect for the UK I think. But there is always that that chance that it just won't have an effect at all, like 2012. So we'll need to see. I would expect probably between the 3rd and the 10th of December for that to take effect. But yeah, I'm putting all my cards on the table here with this SSW. I think it's going to have a big effect. I think we probably are overdue like a really cold spell. The last one was like 2021, I'd say. So I think we're like properly due, or even 2022 December, probably actually. I think we're due like a properly cold spell. So I put all my cards on the table and say that we'd have like a really good cold spell in December, probably a noteworthy one. Certainly more than the one that's coming up this week anyway. But the one that's coming up this week is quite chilly, so and it'll be a big shock to the system because, yeah, we haven't had anything like that since last winter, and it's been so mild for the last like 4 weeks. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you so much for joining. Let me know what you think in the of this this video in the comments, and I'll maybe see you next week for the stream. The stream will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. next week, where we'll be doing a bit of weather in that as well, model check and that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Let me know what you think of this video. Take care.